Little yawn there, weren't you?
I was a little yawn in the break. Well, it's still quite early. It's before 8 a.m.
Right, this is going to wake you up because a group of meerkats have predicted England to win the Euros tomorrow. Have a look at this. We always get this, don't we, just before there is anything in the Italian bucket, though.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if they are right.
What was it? We had the octopus.
Wally, the walrus.
Well, he's
I wonder how Wally is. Yeah, we're going to see in a minute, aren't we?
We'll talk about him in a second. Well, Gareth Southgate's probably already pretty chuffed this weekend, of course, after getting England into the first major football final in over 50 years. But now he's got a bus. The Harrogate Bus Company.
The number 36 bus from near to where Southgate lives in Harrogate, along to the cathedral city of Ripon and Leeds as well. So that is what it is. But it would have been nice if.
And there's a real link, isn't there, between Yorkshire and this England side?
Yes.
There's a proper, there's lots of the players either from Yorkshire or live in Yorkshire.
That's right. Apply their trade.
What about trains? Buses to trains.
How often is your life halted by frustrating train delays? Exactly. Well, passengers might have been slightly more forgiving this week. I do want them to fix the fence or whatever.
This reminds me of, there was other video this week of some geese crossing a motorway in Manchester.
Oh, no, don't.
All the traffic stopped. All the traffic stopped. It was so nice.
I have to say, I did that once. Not on a motorway, on a big road, driving back from work, and there was like a wetlands park, and it was quite a busy road, and all these ducks and their little ducklings were crossing the road, and I just stopped the car. I thought, I'm sorry, I've got to stop this. Got out the car, and everyone was so lovely. So yeah, nice. I think that's what we need to do.
And we were talking about Wally, weren't we?
Yes. Well, he should be living in the Arctic Circle, but he's travelled, and we've been documenting his travels, 2,500 miles. He's now causing chaos in the Scilliars, by the way. He's something of a celebrity, but not everyone is glad to see him because he's been here.
A lot of pints. Also in today's other main story, following Wayne Couzens pleading guilty to the murder of Sarah Everard, it's been revealed that the Met missed several opportunities to stop him. Has your faith in the police been eroded? We're asking that question this morning.
NHS staff could be exempt from having to self-isolate from as early as the 19th of July if they are fully vaccinated. Sounds like great news, but with staff shortages in plenty of other industries, should the same apply to the rest of us?
And in some great British news, the Manx missile, better known as Mark Cavendish, has equalled the record for the most number of Tour de France stage wins. Can he go on to be the greatest of all time? That's coming up.
And tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the evening, Gareth Southgate's side will play Italy at Wembley in the final of the European Championship. Can they do it? That is the big question. England are favourites, of course. They're playing at home, so that usually goes in their favour, if only just. Italy, though, will definitely be very difficult to beat. They are in very good form. They're looking good. They've not lost in their last 33 matches.
Yeah, I saw someone try to work out statistically, they reckon England's got 57 or 58% chance of winning.
Yes, I mean, so they say.
No idea how you work these things out, but that's good news at least anyway. How are you feeling? Surely definitely nervous, hopefully hopeful, and certainly excited this morning. Well, if you live in England, maybe you've got a different feeling if you are in Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland. Maybe you're like, God, they keep banging on about England all the time. Or maybe, because it's one of the home nations, you're getting behind Gareth Southgate's team.
That's right. Well, the football is great news for our economy, wherever you are in the UK. Lockdowns have been horrendous for hospitality, as we know, but finally pubs, they're getting that big boost.
Well, since 6 a.m. this morning, we've been speaking to our GB News North West reporter, Bradley Harris, who has been in a brewery since 6 a.m. in Salford. And
your third can of beer. Thanks to Keith as well there.
Indeed. It is interesting, though. I find it really interesting, this kind of discussion about, I've lived in England for 15 years, so I'm naturally supporting England. But there are lots of people out there who clearly, in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, who would love nothing more than for Italy to win.
Well, yes, I mean, it's
which I think is a bit of a shame.
Tribalism in sport.
We live on the same island, would be my point. But there you go.
No, I like to hear that you are supporting them.
I am, yeah. Come on, England.
Right, more on the football a little later, more from Bradley and his third can of beer later. Here's what else is going on today.
Now, let's return to one of our other top stories today, and that is that the former Metropolitan Police officer Wayne Couzens has pleaded guilty to the murder of Sarah Everard. The 33-year-old was snatched off the street in Clapham in South London in March. Her body was found a week later in Kent.
The news that she was murdered by an officer made her death even more shocking. The police, after all, are supposed to be people who we can trust to keep us safe.
Now, Sarah's death and the scenes from her vigil essentially, for some, worsened the already fraught relationship between the police and the public that we've seen over the last 18 months or so around things like the implication and application of coronavirus rules and, of course, the protests we saw around Black Lives Matters and the reaction to the downing of the Colston statue in Bristol.
Now, a few days ago, the Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner for Leicestershire said he would ban his staff from communicating with Black Lives Matter groups. So we've been finding out what impact the BLM movement has had on policing in the UK. GB News Anaya, following Iman, has been looking into this. Why did the PCC for Leicestershire feel like this was necessary? That is the question. Anaya, what do you make of this?
Yeah, it's a pretty extra, the number of ethnic minority recruits that they have in order to reflect London. So they're doing some things, but there is obviously some scepticism whether any of these things will actually deal with the fundamental problem.
And this, in some ways, that I could feed into that debate about kind of policing by consent in this country, but also, you know, which we think we have got here, unlike in the US. You know, police don't routinely carry guns in the UK, or certainly in England, Wales and Scotland. But what's this idea that kind of the forces need to reflect the communities, that like, they need to look like the communities in many ways, if that kind of policing by consent is due to continue? Is that kind of like an academic kind of thought process, or is there a kind of practical reality to it in terms of actual evidence to suggest that when police reflect the community, those communities are policed better?
I think that you make a really important point, and I spoke to a former Met police officer.
About pineapple and pizza.
Oh, right. Is that the story people have missed?
Well, I think it is. I think it's the biggest story of the day.
I don't think Tonya will like it.
No, that's what I'm saying. we're going in this because the Daily Star's reporting about how the Italians are up in arms about pineapple on pizza. I happen to like it. Kirsty hates it. I think Tonya's probably going to be on the same page.
Yeah, we'll see. First, though, here's the weather with Alex Deakin. Looking gorgeous.
Indeed, very resplendent.
Lovely for the weekend.
What have you picked out for us?
So it's known as nudge, and it's a dark art that politicians get of generally getting the public to do exactly as they wish without even realising it. So it's this constant reinforcement of fear. I mean, there are some really horrible things. I mean, one of the government advisors who she spoke, let's frighten them more, because they understood that COVID, if you're young and fit, won't have an effect on you. So
I think politicians manipulating the public is anything new.
No, but the staff.
In fact, we all. I mean, everyone does it. Also, I mean, the Mail today and the Times reporting that hospital admissions over 500 the first time since mid-March. That actually hospital admissions are growing at higher rates than the SAGE kind of models had predicted. I mean, we have to remember this is still a deadly, serious disease that is still affecting lots of people.
What you're like, Darren. You love the
heads.
Yes, like, but compare it to all the other illnesses and what's going on. COVID now is not in the top 20 of things that kill people.
The fact that for a lot of people who've lost loved ones over the last year, we should minimise.
I've lost loved ones through cancer.
And dementia. Of course.
Let's get it into perspective.
I know, but it's not competition. I'm just saying we shouldn't downplay what is still a deadly virus for lots of people.
My mother-in-law, who got stage 4 cancer because we could not see a doctor because of lockdown. So I will not. I'm sick of it.
But isn't the problem is that when more people end up in hospital, it means the hospital's ability to deal with other things like cancer becomes more limited. Hence why it's important that we get the balance right, because what you don't want is hospitals overwhelmed with patients with COVID.
We all stayed home. We stopped our life waiting to go. And he thinks he'll be doing it by next year.
But when's Jeff Bezos? He's meant to go up pretty soon, isn't he, with his brother? Oh, is it the year after?
Okay. I think Branson's first. But, you know, they'll each pay $250,000
it's a lot of
to
money.
Go up. And you just think...
And you're already going up for like 20 minutes or something. Yeah. But still, it's very cool.
Oh, there it is.
Get out there, the new frontier. I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's exciting.
It is exciting.
I just feel that we as humans, wherever we go, we leave it like it.
It's basically an apology. We're trying to get on the good side of Italy before,
it's come to our attention overnight that the Italians do not appreciate pineapple on their pizzas. They think it's vile, it makes them crazy, and just seeing a picture of one is likely to put them right off their game. Soz about that. I have to say, though, I know this is divisive, and it comes after fans were holding up signs at the Italy-Spain game at Wembley on Wednesday night saying you should not put pineapple on pizza. I think you should. It tastes good, and that's all that matters.
That's true.
All that matters,
you like.
as long as it tastes good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So while football's been dominating the news this weekend, it's easy to forget it is also Wimbledon finals weekend. I wouldn't forget that because I love it. Here to talk us through the week at Wimbledon and look ahead to what to expect this weekend is Rupert Bell, commentator for Wimbledon Live. Good morning to you. There you are, Rupert. So an exciting exciting weekend of...
Have the Wimbledon as long as England get the football. That's good. It's kind of complex.
OK, coming up, away from Wimbledon, we'll be having a look at the rest of the day's sport, including England's final preparations for a certain game against Italy. More next. Evening. Now, Mark Cavendish wrote himself into the Tour de France history. Here's what else is going on today. And the Metropolitan Police Force is under pressure to investigate...
Some of the top stories there for you. Let's move on. Politicians from the UK will join together today with other political leaders from around the world to call for a boycott of Iran. They will say that charges be brought against the new president who's just been elected there for crimes against humanity, and that they should enforce sanctions on the state. Well, joining us is Bob Blackman. He's an MP who supports this action. A very good morning to you, Bob. Just talk us through why... Bob Blackman there, who is a Conservative MP, on what should be done essentially about Iran, him calling for a boycott at the same time as the UK government essentially trying to re-enter those talks about nuclear disarmament.
Right, now coming up, did you know it's National Don't Step on a Bee Day today? Why didn't you know that? After the break...
Frankly, I didn't.
I like it, though. We'll be joined by a beekeeper to tell us about it, how to save them. First, the weather, though. Welcome back. You're watching The Great British Breakfast on a Saturday morning, and very shortly we'll be talking to somebody who... Well, he's a beekeeper because it is Happy Bee Day. I was going to say he's an expert.
I think we've got two beekeepers.
Yes, we have, but we will be very shortly going and speaking to them because it's Happy Bee Day. It's National Don't Step on a Bee Day, which aims to highlight the value of bees and the wonderful work that the UK's beekeepers do, in fact, do. So we'll be discussing that, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's awful when you think of... people, I'm sure they're still out there, and I probably did this as a kid.
Don't.
I know, and it's
I know
awful.
What you're gonna say.
I look back and go,
why would you do that with anything? Never mind an insect.
I know.
I mean, people
and
do.
bees...
I don't believe in that for wasps, flies, anything. Yeah. You do not hurt, step on, you know...
innocent creatures, essentially.
No, don't.
And it's really interesting, though, I mean, just how... And you only really understand this, actually, since the numbers have started climbing, how important bees are.
They are.
For so much of our ecology and how our environment works. I mean, they really are proper little workers.
They are, and that's behind very much the trend of people keeping bees. I mean, my sister and her husband, they keep bees. I would like to. I need to do a bit of reading up on that. Yeah, lots of people do keep bees now, and it is for those reasons, as you mentioned. It has become something that people do.
So it's not National Bee Day, it's National Don't Step on a Bee Day.
But we can talk about all those things, and of course we will talk about all the top stories as well. Coming up in the final hour of the Great British Breakfast, we'll be joined by a very special guest who'll be torn about who he wants to win tomorrow's Euro final as well. We'll be talking about that.
I don't even know who that is.
No, well, wait and see. Don't go anywhere, obviously. In the final of the European Championships, it's a long, long time since England won the World Cup back in 1966.
When was it? 1966?
How long ago was it, Darren?
Never heard that date before in my entire life.
55 years, to be exact.
Now, can England do it? That's the big question. They are favourites, just. And Italy, of course, we know will be tough to beat. They have not lost a game in the last 37 matches.
Roberto
33.
Mancini doing a good job, yeah. How are you feeling about the game? And if you're in Scotland, Wales or Northern Ireland, are you supporting England? Do let us know. GB News, gbviews@gbnews.uk. Or are you fed up of it? Fed up of talking about England against
Italy? As someone from Northern Ireland, you know, it's one of the home nations. No, but I'm just saying, like, I know people in Scotland and elsewhere will be saying, you know, come on, the Italians, but I'm thinking, you know, it's one of the home nations we should all be getting behind.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Wherever you are in the UK, though, let us know. Football's great news for the economy. We know that. It's finally... pubs are getting a big boost. We are spending money. We're able to go out a little bit. So it is all very exciting.
Someone who's been boosting the pub and beer trade this morning is our Northwest reporter, Bradley Harris, who is in a brewery in Salford. I think he's on his third can of beer. He's gone from rolling kegs around this morning to the bar. He's ended up at the bar. Tell us what you're doing there, Bradley.
Yeah, I've ended up at the bar, but let me tell you, a must. It's a must. Come on, a Sunday roast, crack open a lager. I mean, don't get me wrong, a glass of red wine too, but a lager, Yorkshire pud, lots of gravy. Come on, what more do you want?
I'm not sure.
Can I ask you?
What? My prediction? Not yet. I always tell you, not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet, no.
OK.
We always do it later in the show.
OK, end of the programme.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
sort of then.
Okay.
Maybe,
Well, that's something
maybe
to
you'll
stay
forget
tuned
to
for,
ask
isn't
me. We'll do that in a bit, half an hour or so. Right, here's what else is going on today.
Now, the former Metropolitan Police officer Wayne Couzens has pleaded guilty,
particularly in response to a lot of these anti-police sentiments. But obviously that's a more negative story. But the Black Lives Matter protests did seem to double the number of ethnic minority recruits that they have in order to reflect London. So they're doing some things, but there is obviously some scepticism whether any of these things will actually deal with the fundamental problem.
and this, in some ways, that I could feed into that debate about kind of policing by consent in this country, but also, you know, which we think we have got here, unlike in the US. You know, police don't routinely carry guns in the UK, or certainly in England, Wales, and Scotland. But what's this idea that kind of the forces need to reflect the communities, that like, they need to look like the communities in many ways, if that kind of policing by consent is due to continue? Is that kind of like an academic kind of thought process, or is there a kind of practical reality to it in terms of actual evidence that suggests that when police reflect the community, those communities are policed better?
I think that you make a really important point, and I spoke to a former Met police officer who happens to be a black male as well.
That was Anaya there speaking to us a little bit
earlier, yeah. Still to come this morning, we'll tell you what you can expect from this huge weekend of sport, and it's Don't Step on a B Day, so we'll tell you about that too. First, though, Alex Deakin has the weather.
Good morning. The weather remains pretty mixed this weekend. Brighter skies should arrive across the south. Further north, we'll have some sunshine, but also